Hey Switch 2 fans, here's your daily roundup of everything that's new with the Nintendo Switch 2. So first of all, Hori's new Piranha plant webcam is not 1080p like the original Nintendo Switch 2 webcam that's going to be shipping separately. It's going to be 480p. So if you're planning on using game share features and game chat, then just be aware that that Piranha plant, if you do buy it as a webcam for your Switch 2, it's going to be a lower resolution. It's not going to look as good. But hey, it does look pretty cute, right? Go check my other video talking about all the features that it has and what it looks like in full. Nintendo is also delaying pre-orders in Canada too. Canadians will have to also wait to pre-order like the US because of the US tariffs. What does that mean for you? What does it mean for Canadians? When will we get to pre-order? April 9th? We should have been able to pre-order today. Harry Galome over at the Fox basically responded to a lot of discontent about the Switch 2's performance. PS4 type of expectations for Switch 2 in handheld is correct. I get that some people might be upset at that notion, but doing PS4 quality on a device consuming 10 watts in handheld mode is actually very good given the hardware. There are LED light bulbs that consume more power. Is the Switch 2 a Steam Deck killer? Let's talk about that. And lastly, kind of bad news for a lot of you Hades 2 fans, because it will be launching first on the Switch and Switch 2 before it comes to other consoles. Let's talk about the Switch 2, let's talk about all those news articles, but first, please click the like, subscribe, click the bell icon. It really supports and really helps out. I know everyone asks, but it really helps out. And also check out the links down below in the video description for some really cool Nintendo Switch 2 accessory deals, as well as a bunch of other really cool tech. Anyways, let's get into the first topic. So if you don't know, when the Switch 2 launches, there's going to be two different webcams you can buy. There's the official 1080p Nintendo Switch 2 camera for £49. Not sure the price in the UK and the US, maybe it's $40, $50, I'm not sure. And then there's also the Hori third-party Piranha plant camera for the Nintendo Switch 2. And you've got to admit, this looks pretty damn sick. I mean, who wouldn't want this on their desk? But obviously there's a caveat, it's only 480p. So if you're playing game chat and you're playing those social features with your webcam in-game, and you're obviously sitting further away from the Switch, perhaps when it's in docked mode, just be aware you're going to be getting some criticism about your camera quality. But hey, I would take lower resolution camera, a lower resolution webcam on my Switch 2, you know, just to have a webcam that looks like that, right? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Now, in other news, Canada, surprisingly, is also going to be having their Switch 2 pre-orders delayed. Now, if you didn't know, obviously the Switch 2 pre-orders were delayed in the US purely because the tariff situation. You've probably heard tariffs everywhere, right? Everyone, the news, other YouTubers are going on about tariffs, what that might mean for tech, what that might mean for gaming. Well, obviously Nintendo, because the tariffs are so significant, and we were talking about a 106% or 104% tariff as of today, April 9th. On products imported from China, that changes things significantly, especially for Nintendo, who literally only heard about the tariffs the day of their reveal, Nintendo Direct reveal for the Switch 2. So obviously it caught them by surprise. So obviously they announced shortly after they're indefinitely going to be pre-ordering or delaying the pre-orders for the Switch 2. And I'm kind of wondering what this might mean for Switch 2. Now, we've speculated in other videos it could mean a price rise for the Switch 2 if they do that. It could mean the Switch 2 gets delayed until this tariff situation is sorted. There is good news, though. Nintendo have announced, and obviously Doug Bowser, the head of Nintendo in America, announced that they have shipped a bunch of units over to the US already. So, even tariffs aside, there are units in the US, but there's not a lot, I'm going to be honest with you. And if you're wanting to stay up to date on stock issues, if you're wanting a stock tracker when the pre-orders do open to help you beat scalpers and bots, because like I said, this thing's going to be extremely hard to get your hands on, guys. It's going to sell out instantly. Bots and scalpers are going to be trying to get it. They're going to be trying to relist it on eBay for like 3 times the price, knowing them. So it's going to be very hard to get. So that's why we're working on a 24-hour switch to stock tracking live stream here on my channel on YouTube. I'll put a link down below to where you can check it out. Go hang out there, say hi in the live chat, talk to other people, check all the latest news, watch the countdown trickle down to the release day on June 5th for the Switch 2, and obviously we've got the Nintendo Direct reveal trailer, Direct just playing right now, but obviously that's going to get replaced with a stock tracker that will help you hopefully alert you when it goes live. So I recommend eventually when the stock tracker does go live on this live stream that you keep this live stream up all the time. It's going to go silent except for the alarms that let you know the Switch 2 is live. The pre-orders are live, I should say, and when it's back in stock. I honestly don't know if Doug Bowser is just going to say, hey, we have so many 100,000 units in the US right now, let's just go for the launch on June 5th, and whoever gets it, gets it. Whoever doesn't get it, we'll just have to wait. Who knows, right? Now let's take a look at that statement from Nintendo. Pre-orders for Nintendo Switch 2 in Canada will not start on April 9th in order to align with the timing of pre-orders to be determined in the US. So basically, Nintendo of Canada basically announced saying they're wanting their pre-order time to be aligned with US for whatever reason. I'm not sure. You'd think Canadians would be like, you know what, screw the US. We want to get the Switch 2 right now. We want to put our pre-orders in. The tariffs don't affect us. It's not Canada that's imposing tariffs in China and vice versa. Let's just do our pre-orders as soon as possible, right? Unfortunately, that's not the case. So Canadians, I'm sorry. The US is holding you back. Let me know your opinions on that down below in the comments. Now, over to Carrie Colombe over on X. I really like the guy. If you love handheld content, go check out his channel, The Fox. He's basically put up a tweet in response to a lot of, negative coverage around the Switch 2 being, officially being compared with the PS4. It does look like it's going to be on par with the PS4. Not a PS4 Pro, not a PS5. It's going to be on par with the base PS4. Now that comes with positives and it comes with negatives. Obviously PS4 is an old console at this point. The graphics just aren't as good. Obviously newer generation games, AAA games that are coming out now are going to really struggle to run on PS4. I mean, they've been trying to develop PS4 and keep PS4 alive for many years. Look at the Xbox Series S, for example. It's roughly about the same power as the PS4 Pro or PS4, but developers are still working for it. So obviously we might not get AAA brand new releases on the Switch 2, but to get something as powerful as the PS4 is still impressive, and then something like a handheld, that's still pretty damn impressive. Now let's see what Carrie has to say. PS4 type of expectations for Switch 2 and handhelds correct. I get that some people might get upset at that notion, but doing PS4 quality on a device consuming 10 watts in handheld mode is actually very good given the hardware, and I believe it goes up to 30 watts when it's docked. There are LED light bulbs that consume more, and that is so true. There are literally light bulbs that consume more than 10 watts at a time when they're turned on. So for the handheld mode, for the Switch 2 to be able to only consume 10 watts of power and deliver visuals like this, is pretty phenomenal. Games up to 120 frames a second. It's just, unbelievable. So we can't complain too much. I mean, this PS4 is still a powerful console, and to get that into something as thin and small as the Switch 2, I think it's a feat of engineering, honestly. Let's just see what people have to say to that tweet. One tweet here, in response to his tweet, I thought was really interesting. This Piranha Capybara says, "Do you think the screen is actually mini LED?" But they don't see it because it doesn't sound as marketable as OLED. Has anyone tested the dim game in the demo centers? And he says, well, from what I've seen in videos directly, it looks really good. Don't know if we'll get exact details until closer to launch or after people tear it down. I think the fact that they advertised 120 Hz from the display, and they advertised some specs. Now, Nintendo aren't big on advertising specifications and how powerful the thing is, right? But they did in this Direct when they revealed the Switch 2. They obviously advertised the 3D audio. If the screen was in fact mini LED, I think they would advertise that. Mini LED is basically a step down from OLED. It's basically, there's a lot of light diodes behind the screen in a lot more places than a typical regular LCD display. So it's still a feature that they would want to advertise. So if they didn't advertise it, I don't think it will be. It'll be a regular LCD, maybe IPS, and it still looks fantastic. Obviously, I'm going to do a video talking about the screen comparison between the OLED and the Switch 2. And all I'll say is this: I am a massive fan of OLED displays. I think I really wanted them to include an OLED in this, but from what I've seen, somebody actually held up a Switch OLED to the Switch 2 and the display looked really comparable. No, you're not going to get amazingly deep blacks like the OLED, but it still looks pretty fantastic. Now, there's been a lot of comparisons as well about whether the Switch 2 is a true Steam Deck killer. Digital Foundry deep dives. All killer? No filler? Well, let's take a look at what they basically showed us. So here is the PS4 version of Final Fantasy. I'm not sure what Final Fantasy game it is. Let me see. It is... I don't play any Final Fantasy games. I need to. It's been one of those games I need to. But here is a comparison between the PS4 version and the Switch 2. So here's the PS4. Looks pretty decent. Here's the Switch 2 version. Looks virtually the same. The lighting, if anything, the lighting might be better on the Switch 2 version. The textures on the shoulders look damn near identical. So as back to my original point, I will say the lighting looks a bit better on the PS4 in the background, doesn't it? I'm not sure. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let's go to the second image. So this is Elden Ring running on the PS4, and this is the same scene running on the Switch 2. In some areas, the Switch 2 looks slightly better. Like, I don't know if those rocks have a little bit of moisture in them. See, they're like sort of reflecting almost. They obviously have ray tracing to some extent, or some sort of improved lighting model on the Switch 2. But also, there's some other areas where I believe the PS4 looks slightly better. I don't know if it's the depth of field maybe is better on the Switch 2, and there's not as much depth of field or background blur or distance blur on the PS4 version. I'm not sure, but some areas look sharper on the PS4, some look sharper on the Switch 2. Overall, I mean, I would see the trees maybe look a little bit more full on the PS4 version, more detailed, but then that could also be running at a higher resolution to the one on the Switch 2. Obviously, Switch 2 is going to take advantage of DLSS upscaling, so who knows? We might... One thing's for sure, we're going to get a very similar performance on the Switch 2 compared to a PS4, which, like Harry said, is still amazing, right? And obviously Cyberpunk's going to be interesting. I think Cyberpunk's going to be able to... I think Digital Foundry is going to be able to do a deep dive when the Switch 2 does get released and we see Cyberpunk running on the Switch 2. We're going to be able to obviously compare that in absolute fine detail, you know, to other devices like the Steam Deck, like the PS4, etc. So that's all coming soon when the Switch 2 does come out. And I cannot wait to see how it stacks up to other consoles like the PS4, like certain graphics cards, and more importantly, like the Steam Deck, because I think the Steam Deck is a true solid competitor to the Nintendo Switch 2. I have one, I love it, it's got an OLED, it's not as sleek and thin as a Switch 2, but it lets you do a lot more. Let's just say that. And lastly, for our Switch news for today, Hades 2. Yes, Hades 2 will unfortunately launch on the Switch 2 before any other console. Now, the game's currently on early access. Now, the game's obviously on early access on PC, so technically you could be playing this on your Steam Deck right now if you had a Steam Deck. Not that I'm promoting the Steam Deck, although I do love it on this channel. It's currently on early access on PC, but it is interesting that it will be going on consoles like the Switch and Switch 2 first before anywhere else. It will be a console exclusive on Switch systems when it eventually launches out of early access. Nintendo announced last week that the game was coming to the Switch and Switch 2, and today the company released the new Creator's Voice video highlighting more about the game. Now, what they did say was kind of interesting. They didn't get too specific about the Switch 2 version of the game, but they do say that 60 frames a second gameplay is important to them. And with it being a sort of top-down, not top-down, but like a 2D game, I would expect 60 frames minimum. If we got a game like this at 30 frames, with how responsive and how fast-paced Hades 2 is, I would be mega disappointed. I'm sure they'll be able to get the graphical effects and stuff cranked up on the Switch 2, no problem, and still hit a minimum of 60, right? And if we get 4K 60 or, you know, 1080p 120, I think that would be a massive bonus. Now, lastly, before we end this video, again, please hit the like and subscribe. It really helps out a lot. I'm trying to cover Nintendo Switch 2 on the daily basis, so your support means a lot to me. And go check out our 24-hour stock tracking stream for the Switch 2. Even, you know, just to check on the news, we have this little scrolling news bit over here. Let me hover over it. We've got a little scrolling notepad with all the latest news on Switch 2. We also have the live chat, which is up on the screen all the time, so you can sort of see yourself talk and see what other people have said before you. You could check and rewatch the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal direct. You can also count down to the release date with us, and obviously as time goes on, as we get closer to pre-orders, I'll be transitioning this to a stock tracker script. So basically, you know, you could leave the stream up 24 hours a day if you want to on your computer, maybe even on your phone in the background, right? And just listen for an alarm, and it will let you know, boom, Switch 2 is available for pre-order, or it's back in stock after the scalpers and bots got the first wave. Go pre-order it right now, and it'll give you hopefully a heads up over the scalpers and bots and stuff. So there we go, guys. Hopefully that was informative for you. Hopefully you enjoyed this little quick fire, quick pace, you know, coverage or overview of a bunch of different Switch 2 news stories, instead of me doing each video and each news story individually as a video. If you like this sort of content or this format of me just covering several news items at once in one video, let me know down below. Obviously, hit the like and subscribe. It really helps out a lot. I'm Blaze2K. I appreciate you. Let's get hyped up for Switch 2 together. And again, go check out our 24-hour Switch 2 live stream. Hang out. Come say hi. And even if nobody responds to you straight away, you know, stick around, keep checking in on it. And yeah, it'll be a fun place to hang out. Anyways, I'm Blaze2K. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. Bye, guys.